I had heard about this school. I was interested in it, the National Theater Institute.
Yes.
At Waterford, Connecticut, the Eugene O'Neill Center. I had heard about it. A couple of my friends had gone and loved it. And I thought, yeah, totally. I'm sure I'll love it. But the most important thing is they transfer credits. So done deal. Let's do that. For the last
semester?
Yeah, I'll be in a new group of people and I don't have to be lonely on campus. And so I get there totally expecting to not goof off because I really wanted to work hard. But at the same time, I was like, it doesn't matter. No matter what happens in this semester, I'll graduate college. That's all I know.
It's final semester. Yeah.
And it turned out to be I think it was 16 weeks or something. It was the most transformative. So if Brown was introducing me to it all, this was the galvanizing moment. This was this moment where you woke up every morning at 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning to get prepared, and you were going to bed at 2 in the morning because this school was all about, if you want to be an actor or a director or a writer, then you need to know how hard you have to work. This is not something that you may have read about or dreamt about, which is like you just sit in a room and do monologues all day and then someone calls you and puts you in a TV show or a movie. It was like, no, you have to get up every day and be working 10 times harder than everyone else, because to get yourself out there, just to get to the starting gate, takes so long,
That's perfect prep for the real world.
It's exactly right. So either way, I was super pumped about it. But I was transformed. There was a very definitive influence on me. This guy, David Jaffe, who ran the school at the time, was just one of those sort of monolithic figures for me who came in and just changed my whole life. He basically said, if you wanted to do this for a career, I think you have what it takes. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, right? And he had just told everybody that it is very hard to make this a career, the difficulties and all these things. He said, but I think you could do it. And I said, oh, thank you so much. It was the first week. You had to meet him on the first week. And I'll never forget, he said, I think you could make it. You have some real talent. And at the time, like I said, I hadn't really thought about doing it. And he said, the only question I want to ask you is, when are you going to stop bullshitting yourself? And I said, what?
Whoa.
And he was like, when are you going to stop being a bullshitter? And I was like, wow, never been direct addressed like that. And he said, I watch you in these scenes and in these monologues, and in 1 week I figured you out, which is every time you are this close to getting to the truth, you bail and you go to comedy and you try to make your friends laugh. And I would ask you if you have the strength and the courage to go that extra mile and keep going and allow yourself to be hurt and allow yourself to be wrong and allow yourself to fail, I think you could be something special. Otherwise, don't even worry about it. Yeah, otherwise just check out. It's all good. That was an intense conversation, and I took it on. I took on that mantle and just thought, you know what? I'll do it. I remember that first week after that conversation doing, I think it was either True West or something where we were getting into some real heavy stuff. And I looked out at the crowd and could feel exactly what he was telling. I was aware now. It's like when you get labeled. I was aware of looking out to the crowd and being like, I can make a joke. And I saw him looking at me, and I turned right back in and kept going. And he taught me truth. He taught me search for that. And from then on, I got to say, that's what made me want to be an actor, because there was something about the responsibility of being a storyteller. And if you ever get the opportunity to do it, there's so much you can say. It's not just about performing. It's actually a responsibility you have to tell stories that are very important to people. And I'd never seen that. I saw acting as just kind of like, well, you're going to get paid to goof off? This is easy.
It's fun. It's goofing off. It's low stakes. Low
stakes, exactly.
Yeah. Boy, it takes a really, really good educator to boil down flaws.
And in a week, too. I was
in
like,
a week,
wow.
And throw it in your face.
Yeah.
I studied at the O'Neill, too. I know that the O'Neill I was in the National Critics Institute.
Oh, nice.
And
it's
2 weeks of, like, you get up first thing in the morning, you're writing until...
Yeah. Exactly right.
After.
And they have the Playwrights Conference, which is the same thing.
Yes. Amazing.
And that's sort of the way it goes. And that place, as you know, is there's magic in the air there.
It's paradise.
Holy Lord. There's spirits and ghosts and all sorts of great things
O'Neill's,
walking with you. Yeah.
Creepy ghost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I didn't realize that was your last semester. That is actually like a really great transition from Brown into the real world.
Oh my God, yeah.
You can't just think you're going to, graduate Brown in like the real world. If you want to maybe be an actor, maybe be a director, just kind of dick around and like sleep in. Like, no, you have to hit the pavement.
No, it was hardcore. Yeah. And they were really hard about it. They were like, you had to write a play, you had to direct a play, you had to do all this stuff. And I remember it was also, I'm probably just rambling now, but it was also
it's great.
It's where I was for 9/11. So we started on 9/9, and 2 days into us at that school, 9/11 happened, and I remember, obviously it changed everybody's life, but it changed our life artistically because, again, this guy, that's why I said he's a monolithic figure to me. It's like so we were supposed to fly. Part of the experience is you fly overseas to study either at the school in Moscow or with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yes.
At Stratford-upon-Avon. And so I said, luckily for me, I was a Shakespeare nerd, so in the fall you go to Stratford. So on 9/11, now 9/11 happens, we're not allowed to have radios or TVs or anything in the at the it's very dedicated as far
boot camp.
as exactly, boot camp. And we were supposed to leave 2 days later, I think, to fly to London. He came up and made the most unbelievable speech. He said, if any of you do not want to travel to London, totally understand. I would question and charge you with one question, which is this representative of a much bigger thing in not only your life, but life in general? That these are the challenges that if you step up and can step through, you have the ability to be great, not only as artists, but as people. That if you stay down in these moments, are these the moments that will define you? Or if you stand up, they can never define you, and you're basically defeating the very purpose that those people were trying to scare you with.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just rocked. The other thing that came out that week was that some supposedly certain churches in New York, supposedly, I didn't know, but supposedly had closed the churches and the theater doors were always open. And so that idea of your church being open for you was so moving. And so there were all these very intense things going on where it felt like the universe was sort of like, so this whole idea of you doing this out of laziness, you should probably rethink that. Like this is a real question and a real,
Gotcha.
And so that's why
that
it
responsibility
became,
thing.
yeah,
And
exactly.
It's ingrained in you. You've been working every day since. You've
Right,
worked very hard.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it was all terrifying back in those Brown days or that NTI days, which is everything was new. Like I said, I had never read Angels. And so not only was I trying to make sense of it, but I was also super intimidated by it. Like, what a tome of writing. It was like, I remember
I'm
those
still
things.
Intimidated by
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
It's like, so I just wanted to stay intimidated and stay there. I just did. And listen, there also, when you take those challenges, you easily could fall and fail and all those things. And it just so happens that NTI's motto, their one line on their poster is risk, fail, and risk again. And it's really what I live by. I really do.